Hi, this is Elizabeth Green from Junglr, and I have a super awesome guest who agreed to be on the channel, which I'm stoked about, Mina Elias. I'm sure you've seen him around. If you haven't, you definitely should go check out his channel. He's got some awesome, amazing content on Amazon PPC, which is what we're all about. So I am super stoked to be talking about launch strategies because I don't think we have anything like that on this channel. Mina has definitely gotten into some more, what I would say, competitive slash downright obnoxious niches to try launching in. So he's definitely the king of going after things aggressively. So I'm stoked to see what he has to share today because a lot of it is actually knowing your numbers, knowing if something's working or not, and then adjusting based on that, which I am a super big fan of. You definitely need to know what's going on so you can make the decisions.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me on the channel. So yeah, like I want to cover a few things when it comes to launching. The first thing is before launching, before sending a ton of traffic, let's first of all understand that we're sending traffic to an Amazon listing, and I'm basically trying to get people from Amazon searches to our listing and then convert it there. So before anything, I want to make sure that the bases are covered. I'm gonna cover like really quickly. I'm gonna share my screen and cover what I'm looking for when I'm like auditing a listing before running ads to it. So this is like a mushroom coffee that I pulled up, a random mushroom coffee. The first thing is I'm gonna look at like the images. I want to make sure that the images are optimized. If I don't have any data, or if I have some conversion rate data, I want to obviously look at the conversion rate data, make sure that the conversion rate is there before I start sending a bunch of people. But if we're launching, we're assuming we don't have any conversion rate data. I want to make sure that the images are good. Like if someone just scrolls through the images, they understand what the product is about, and then they're going to convert on the by looking at the images. Then I'm looking at the price based compared to like the competitors. So this one's 1673, 1999, 1849. So at 1999, it's an okay price. Probably we could go a little bit cheaper initially in the launch. I usually recommend starting a little bit on the lower end and then working the way up, my way up, as I understand what is going to happen with the conversion rate. There's usually no reviews, but there I can easily start asking a bunch of questions on the listing. This is like a little trick that I do, but I'll scroll down and I'll go here to where it says questions, and I will go and take my competitors. Like I'll open this one, and this is not a mushroom coffee, but let's assume it is. I'll take this one and I'll go look at all the questions there, and I'll ask the questions, and I'll make sure that I include, like you see this has like black diamond. So I'll include like these keywords that I want to target so that I start getting indexed and showing up for any keywords that I want to target. Then I'm looking at some of the other basic stuff. Obviously, make sure that the title is optimized for the keywords. I know what main keywords I'm gonna rank for, so make sure that's in the title. Make sure it's in the bullet points. Um, have a really good enhanced brand content. That's like another thing. You can easily split test this. They also have managed experiments. So I'm looking at the enhanced brand content. One thing that's super easy is like find a listing like this and essentially do something similar to it but better. If you're like, oh, where do I even start? This is an easy way to start. And then make sure you have some friends lined up for videos, and then just have them upload videos to the listing. Once they buy the product, they can upload. I don't think you even need to buy the product, but just make sure you have it in there. People are like, like, let me watch a video and see if people actually like this. So now that our bases are covered, we have good images, the price works, we know we're going to get reviews, right? We're going to focus on getting some reviews. We have questions, or we have questions lined up for the listing and all that stuff. Then I set up my analytics tracking. So my analytics tracking looks something like this. It has the dates. This is brand and product name, obviously, because I have a lot of brands and products that I'm managing. But then I'm documenting the spend, documenting PPC sales, overall sales, these stuff too, sessions, conversion rate, click-through rate, and you'll see here, like, we get into the profit. So the reason that I'm doing this is the goal with the launch is to increase my PPC spend money on ads, and then get more sessions. So I want to kind of see the progression of, as my spend is going up, my sessions are also going up. I also want to keep a good eye out on my conversion rate and click-through rate. If my click-through rate is not good, that basically means like when someone is typing in keywords, they're looking at like everyone, but they're not choosing me. They're choosing everyone else. And so that's a good one to keep an eye out on, because that can be like, okay, like there's no point in continuing to run or spend a lot of money on ads if I'm not focused on, how can I get a better click-through rate? How can I improve my price so that when people look, they're like, okay, this is a really good mushroom coffee priced product. Is my main image standing out? Some main images might look like, pretty bad. Maybe, I don't know, this one looks pretty horrible. It looks like pretty messy. And then you have some really clean ones, like this looks like a really clean one. This one's clean. This one looks very clean. It looks very realistic. So that's another thing that I want to keep my eye out on, because I want the spend to go up and I want the sessions to go up while my conversion rate and click-through rate kind of stay the same.
That's a really good call out, because I think a lot of times people ask about ads in relation to their brand, because they want to know, like, okay, are things working? Do I have a good main image? So by tracking things like click-through rate, which I think you and I both think that click-through rate isolated on a keyword, like if the keyword's working but it has a low click-through rate, like who cares? But by tracking the overall click-through rate, and then just seeing kind of, okay, so as we spend more, does my click-through rate remain the same? Like, am I showing up more places but the less people are actually like clicking on it? So, and you had a good call out there on, it could also be your price point as well. So you might have a good image, but if you're at the top of the price point and you have like no reviews, well, that's not enticing to the shoppers. So you need to also recognize what shows up, which is your star rating, your price point, and then your main image. So you can kind of maybe test one week, track the click-through rate, test the next week. So by setting up something like this, which is super awesome, you can see week over week and know, oh, I made this change. How did that affect everything?
Exactly. And by the way, this isn't like any sort of like custom software. This is just a spreadsheet. And like, I mean, you could just take a screenshot here and like make your own, but this is manually inputted, like, every single day. So every single day I have an employee that goes in, puts the stuff. Obviously, if you're starting out, you can do it yourself. It's tedious, but if you dedicate, this will take you 10-15 minutes a day. If you dedicate 10-15 minutes a day, it'll change the way that you're looking at your brand, because you have like a lot of good visibility. And the goal also here with the launch is to see, okay, I spent, let's say $100 the first week, $200 the second week. I also increased the number of sessions, but if I start noticing that like the number that I'm spending for every single session, so if it was costing me $1 to get one person into the listing, and then after 3 people in the listing, I have a 30% conversion rate. I'm going to convert after 3 people visiting the listing. I know that it's going to be, $3 to make a conversion. Or if my cost per click, let's say is $2, that's going to be $6. And so I can already kind of reverse engineer how much it's going to cost for me to convert. So a lot of people are like, I wonder, how much do I need to spend and all this stuff on PPC? You can actually like do the equation, or you can say, I'm spending, $50. I'm getting 50 sessions, so that's $1 per session. And because of my conversion rates 50%, after 2 sessions, I make a sale. So that's $2 to make one sale, $28. Great, I'm very profitable. Or if you notice that you're spending $4 per session, and then you need 10 sessions to convert, now you're like spending $40 to make a conversion. Then you're like, okay, this is not going to work out. So that's why I kind of have the analytics set up like that. This is kind of just empty, as an empty template. So that's why I was going to show it. And then the final piece of the puzzle before I get started is keyword tracking. So like, we'll just use this as an example, but I want to add in all of the keywords that I think are important to track and that I'm going to start targeting. Those are usually like the high search volume, very, very common with my competitors' keywords. And those are the ones that I really want to rank high for, because if I rank high for, I'm going to assume that it's going to help me bring a lot of organic sales. I don't want to just do PPC for the sake of doing PPC and spending. I also want to do a little bit of do it strategically to improve my organic ranking, hoping that now it's going to be like, okay, I'm spending money on PPC and I'm converting profitably, but also my organic ranking is up there. It's helping me convert, organic and for free. So both are working together, as opposed to just fully focusing on one thing and like ignoring the other. And you can obviously see here, like when the sponsored rank is high, the organic rank is moving up. And this is kind of like, pretty common. So once I have that set up, and again, to summarize, I'm making sure the listing is optimized. I'm tracking what's going on, and now I'm tracking the keywords. I'm gonna begin my launch. So to launch, the way that I go about it is I'll start with 4 auto campaigns. I break out the auto campaigns into close match, loose match, complement, substitutes, because I feel that each one of them performs differently. So if one of them performs really well, I want to give that more bids, a bigger bid and more budget. If one of them is performing poorly, it's going to take some time to optimize, maybe add a bunch of negatives before it kind of can convert well. Having them all together really like prevents me getting the good data to kind of do that optimization. So I'll break them out, and they are very powerful because Amazon uses its data and starts bidding on keywords. Then I'm going to have like my main, let's say 10 or 15 keywords, broad, phrase, and exact. And I'll usually do for the main keywords. I'll do 1 keyword per campaign because I really want to get them to rank. For some of the supplementary keywords, maybe I'll go 3 to 5 keywords per campaign. Now I usually just stick to 5 because I've seen that when I put too many keywords in a campaign, some of them get spend, the other ones kind of don't get as much spend. And I don't want to be in that position where I'm just, I have a bigger budget and it's just the same 3 or 5 keywords are getting all of the spend and the other 15 or 20 are not.
I'm going to have to ask this because I know I'm going to get questions, or I get these questions all the time. You probably do too. So someone says like, okay, so like main keywords where you said, I'm going to split these ones out into a single keyword campaign, which is honestly something I do when I'm kind of perusing my list and like chunking it out. How do you go about determining what are those keywords? Do you have a cutoff point? Is it like a gut thing?
Yeah. So to figure out the main keywords, I'm going into my top 10 competitors on Amazon, doing a reverse ASIN lookup in Cerebro, and I'm identifying the keywords that all, at least 9 of these competitors or all 10 of them are ranking for. They have at least 350 or 500 searches a month, and they're ranking between position 1 and 60. So that's kind of my criteria. I get those keywords and I sort it from highest to lowest, and I generally take the top 15. And so that's kind of, I'll probably limit it to 15. If I need to do more, I will, but it's generally, kind of 15 keywords, which is 45 campaigns right off the bat. I don't want to go too crazy right off the beginning. I don't want to like have, 300 campaigns right on the beginning. So those are the top 15. I'll have them individual in each one of those campaigns. And then after that, I'll start grouping them. The answer is there's no science to it. I don't know if there's like an exact answer. Is this the perfect way or is this not? But obviously with individual keyword campaigns, there's a lot of control because all of the budget goes to one keyword. I can optimize and everything, but I also don't know what's the perfect cutoff. So I just kind of pick 15 and I say, oh, that's a good start. And then from there, so I have the auto campaigns, I have the broad, phrase, and exact keyword campaigns. I'll also set everything up possible for branded. So branded search terms and my product, I'll have sponsored brand, sponsored display, video, and regular PPC, all targeting my brand name, even if no one knows my product. But if I mention it to a friend, or if I post about it on Instagram and someone goes and looks at it on Amazon, I want to make sure I'm everywhere and there's not a product that has 13,000 reviews that shows up like right there. And they're like, oh yeah, like I like Mina's product, but this other guy is like 13,000 reviews. Maybe I should get that one. So I want to prevent any of that from happening. So I'll block everything branded out and then I'll launch. And then from there, I'll wait 7 days. Obviously, the first few days I'm monitoring everything. If there's any weird thing happening like overspending or underspending, or maybe I start showing up for irrelevant keywords, I want to nip that in the butt right away. But assuming everything goes fine, in 7 days, I'll pull the search term report. Then I get into the system of identifying all of the profitable search terms in the search term report, launching those in their own campaigns. Again, 3 to 5 keywords per campaign. I launch them in all match types. I do not negative them if they're working, because if they're working, they're making money. I don't know if they're going to make money when I launch them in their own campaigns. So I'll do that. I'll download the bulk sheet, optimize the bids. So If it's profitable, I'll kind of keep it the same, or maybe bump the bids up a little bit if it's like in a launch phase. If it's not profitable, ACOS is whatever, over 70 or something, I'll cut down the bids, and I'll do it gradually. Like if my target is, let's say 50%, then maybe 50 to 60, I'll cut it down by 3 cents, 60 to 80, cut it down by 5 cents, 80 to 100, cut it down by 10 cents, something like that. Again, it's not an exact science. It's an iterative process. So I'm just trying to make small adjustments and then measuring, the results. And if the results are in the right direction, then just keep doing more of that. And then, so launching more campaigns, negativing any search terms in the search term report that are not profitable or getting a ton of clicks with no sales. And there's a certain threshold. And for me, it's like maybe 2 times the acceptable cost per acquisition. So if I can afford to spend $6 to make 1 sale, and I'm okay with that cost per acquisition. If it's spent over $12 and hasn't made a sale, it's not like when it spends the 13th dollar, it's going to make any sense. So usually at that point where it's spent 2 times the cost per acquisition without a sale, I'm negativing that keyword out. Even if it does make a sale, it's going to have to make like 3 sales on the next $2 spent for it to make sense. So that's where I'll negative. And I only negative because it's in an auto or broader phrase, and I can't just lower the bid. And I'm looking at the bid by placement. I'm seeing like, okay, it's performing better in the top of the search. Let's give that a little bit of a increased, budget. Like if my bid is $1, maybe I'll go up to $1.30 or $1.40. Just to let it perform or spend more if it can perform in that better placement. And that's it. It becomes like kind of a system of doing that. And then later on, the sponsor brand and display and video come in, where it's like I'm identifying which placements I'm doing well in and which I'm not, and maybe testing using sponsored video in something that I'm not able to convert in, or my sponsor product on page 1 is just too expensive. At page 2 or 3, it's not converting. Let's try a video on page 1 and see what happens. So that's kind of the launch system that I have, and I cover like the bases in the first week and then get into the system just like you have.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I definitely agree with the launch system. I think I think it's very similar. I think anyone who's been in this for a while, I kind of like that I tend to connect with other PPC, whizzes out there that like, I think it seems like a lot of us are on the same wavelength, which is really encouraging, because I think if you've been in it enough, you kind of end up walking away. Everyone has like their nuances, or we might do bid adjustments slightly differently. But I think the core of it is always going to be, okay, let's test it. Let's put our best foot forward. You're obviously doing a really in-depth keyword research to identify like the best place to start. But then it's a matter of, all right, so let's test it. Like you said, if it's spend this much, we can pretty much calculate this is not going to work. If it's not working, let's reduce what we're spending on it. If it is working, either let's keep it as is, or let's try and push it a little bit harder. And then let's incrementally test, additional things as we get the data, as the account can support, maybe an increase in spend because we're getting in sales. Like it's this constant churn of testing. It's working, great. It's not, bring it down, test some more.
Exactly. That's exactly what I do. And I love that you mentioned it. Is like most of us are pretty much doing the same thing. There is small nuances, but yeah, we're heavily relying on Amazon's data, and we're saying let's launch something. Let's see what the data says. If the data says it's good, it's good. If it's not, it's not. But yeah, we're all on the same page, and I'm glad that there's enough of us, because there's like a million sellers out there. So there needs to be even more of us.
Yeah. So if you're unsure where to start, I mean, you definitely can. Hopefully this video was super helpful. And then go check out Mina's page as well. He's got some awesome content there. We've got some cool content if you're looking to get into like how to manage. Mina mentioned bulk files. We've got a lot of content on the channel about that. So again, thank you so much for being on, sharing your amazing spreadsheets, and then how you track and identify kind of like how things are working. I mean, that's a huge thing to, like we said, if it's working, great, increase it. If it's not, pull back. And being able to like visualize and see all that data is pretty awesome.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks.